Now, I can't say that I normally remember my dreams very well, but this one dream I had when I was probably in elementary school.
So I had this dream when I was 5.
So I had this dream when I was 5 years old. It was right around when my dad had passed away. So I ended up talking about this dream in therapy, which is why I think I remember it so well.
I once had this dream that I call Porch of the Torch.
I had a dream once that I wrote a musical called Marge, and it was a Simpsons musical.
5 or 6 years ago, I had dreamed that my family essentially left me at Disney World.
It revolved me going down this, like, orange and blue water slide on a tube.
The dream started with me waking up in my room at my childhood home.
In this dream, I was with Jadon and Maddie.
So basically, there's an episode of Mickey Mouse where they're on the moon, and I had just watched that episode before going to bed.
About Marge Simpson. It was like feminist.
And for some reason, there was like a massive hole in the water slide.
But yeah, in my dream I woke up from a dream.
And we were driving in some rural area to get back to Naperville when we stumbled upon what was quite literally the biggest building I had ever seen in my life.
So in the dream, it felt like I had a VR headset on and I was watching the episode again, but everything was different.
And Riley was Marge, and I was Homer, and this was one of the nights we were performing it.
And I remember it so vividly because everything was so shaded with like purples and pinks and also grays. And, I just remember myself in the middle of this kind of like barren wasteland that I couldn't identify as like Disney, but I knew in my heart of hearts that it was Disney.
So we fell through it, and I was like clinging to the side of the slide.
And I was in my old bedroom at my old house that I grew up in.
From the outside, the building almost resembled like some sort of warehouse. But from the decor, it was pretty clearly a mega church.
Goofy specifically was acting very, very weird. Looking back on it now, he seemed drunk.
At like a proscenium arch theater, probably Pfeiffer, and we got into a mechanized boat for one scene, and where we traveled back and forth along the edge of the stage.
And I guess it was just so interesting because I was sobbing in my dream, and when I woke up in the morning, I was sobbing, just like I had been in my dream. And so it was a really interesting, kind of like ethereal and like lucid experience as well.
And I fell in, and assumedly I died.
And I didn't know what woke me up at first, so I was just kind of sitting there. And then I heard my brother start to cry from his room. And he was like scream crying, and this was obviously disturbing because it's the middle of the night in my dream too.
It was the biggest building I'd ever seen, and the main characteristic of it on the outside was this gigantic skeleton looming over the building.
And the entire, like, all the Mickey Mouse characters were all really worried about him. His eyes were going, like, crossed and stuff. I remember this dream really scared me for some reason.
At the edge of the stage, there was this like boat, and you got in it, and it went back and forth. And Riley got in, but I kept missing the boat. Like, it went too fast, and I would miss it.
Because that's the end of the dream, and I remember feeling this, like, internal panic.
Pitch black outside. I looked out the windows, and it was literally a black void.
So we decided to take a look inside. And we went in through some sort of weird back and like a delivery entrance at the very back of the building on the top floor.
And I don't remember anything else about the dream. I'm not even sure anything else actually happened.
And I got so embarrassed, I forgot all of the lines that I said as Homer. And then Riley just kept saying my lines. Like she said all my lines as Homer as well.
In that moment, so I don't know what that means, and I also don't know why I remember it so well and not any other dream.
Like I couldn't see anything. So I make my way out of my room, down the hall, into my brother's room, and I hear him crying still.
And when we got inside, it became clear that we were at the last stop of a progression of exhibits. And why do you ask? It wasn't clearly the last step. Well, this exhibit showed the destruction of the universe at the hands of some god. Now, I don't think this was normal god. I think this was some other god.
And we got off stage, and then we went on a walk, and specifically, I remember exactly what I said to Riley as we were going out walking. I was like, I've been thinking about how I'd like to die since that happened to me, and I think I'd like it to be peacefully in a field of flowers. So.
And I don't know why he's crying. I don't know what's the matter. So I finally make it to his room. His room is another black void. There's literally nothing in there.
So the last exhibit was where we entered, and it was showing the death of the universe. So naturally, we decided to split up and take a look around, because what else would you do in that situation? So after a few minutes of roaming around, I stumbled upon some guy from the church. Now, mind you, before that, it was totally empty. But I stumbled upon some guy from the church, and he started telling me in a very hostile way that we were not supposed to be there.
I can still hear my brother crying, so I probably say something like, "Is everything okay, Levi? Can I help you with anything? Like, what's the matter?" And no response. But as soon as I said that, he stopped crying.
He was very aggressive, trying to get us out. So I tried to wrangle everybody. Jadon was hard to find, but I literally had to pry Maddie out of there. She was acting like she was super drunk, and she was cuddled up with some guy that she met in the church. And we were only in there for a few minutes. So she was just acting insanely abnormal, like literally like something was in the air, and I had to physically pull her out. And that is the story of this, and the church was called Porch of the Torch. So that is the story of the most memorable and disturbing dream I've ever had about a megachurch called Porch of the Torch, which was home to an exhibit detailing the death of the universe at the hands of God, and was clearly not very open to outsiders.
And I reached my hand in his room to turn on the light, and like a big metallic-y hand grabbed onto my arm and pulled me in his room, and that's when I woke up.
But that scares me.
So yeah, that's my most memorable dream from when I was 5.
That was my dream.
That's probably one of my most memorable dreams.